Hey everybody, welcome back to Turn Bark Time, Season 3, Episode... I'm the Turn,
I'm the Bark.
and we're going to be here a long time. Welcome back everybody. Bark, how was your spring break?
It was good. We went to the beach. It was cold. It was rainy, but we're sand dollar millionaires.
Genius. I love it. I love it. I played a lot of golf. I hung out with my puppies. My beautiful fiance got to go down to Florida to visit her family and go to a great medical conference where she learned a ton, while she also got to hang out on the beach, which I'm jealous about. First week back, started track. It's been fun. It's been snowy. Really weird. Don't know why it's snowing in April. But my kids are always like, why is it snowing? I was like, well, there's these things. They're called clouds, and they condense. They're vapor. Then when they need to move, they release their vapor. If it's cold enough, it snows. And they're like, that's not funny, Turner. We're not in science. I'm like, I know. So
We had a snow day the first day back, so
that's dope. Actually, our boss, our fearless leader, Mr. Scott Ramsey, actually was like, yeah, Turner and Barker are probably going to be recording an episode. So if Zach steps out of his classroom for an hour, and I was like, that's fair. That's fair. So, but yeah, it's good to be back. Barker, why don't you set us up for this episode, because this came from one of your students.
Yep. So this is another AP student request from one Erin. Name's Aaron, but it's spelled Erin. So I never call people by what their mothers call them. You should learn that by now. But we were doing a trivia game the day before spring break, and I had just all kinds of random questions on there. I had some history questions, some animal questions. And one of my questions was about unicorns. And I was like, there's a country in the world that their national animal is a unicorn.
Oh my God, I'm jealous.
Right? My mom's amazing. My mother made this for my daughter, but it fits me. So she's, I've worn this to school once.
I believe it.
And so we were sitting there, and it was great because kids, one of the things we've been struggling with is getting kids just to talk. And she did a great job. She was like, unicorns are like neutral, which, and then she was like, neutral. That means Switzerland. Switzerland's neutral, which means she'd been listening in class, which is amazing. And then she was like, so because unicorns are neutral, they have to be from Switzerland because Switzerland is always neutral. And I was like, that's a great thought, but the answer is Scotland. Super proud of her.
Dreams.
And so, like, it led to the question of just like suspenders. It was just like one of those off the cuff, like, well, where do they come from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why Scotland? Why Scotland? And I'm like, I don't know. So today, we are or tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Good evening and tonight.
Yep.
Or whatever, like Jim Carrey from the Truman Show.
Truman Show.
Yes, great film. Anyways, we're gonna talk about unicorns and where unicorns come from.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing too, because like I love it. I told you I was gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So if you're a fan of The Office, right? One of my favorite lines from Michael Scott is when he looks at him and he goes, looks at the camera when he's trying to be creative. And he's like, "I'm creative." Like, okay, let me tell you this. When I was 5, I imagined a horse with a spike coming out of its head. Never heard of a unicorn. Never seen one. I was 5. Couldn't even talk yet. Again, the other one that I like, you'll notice me do this throughout the episode. This is a shout out to our buddy Sasquatch, who also gave us the Rajneesh Param episode idea. But this is a true believe. He tells a great story. I'm not going to take his story. I'm going to save that for another time. It's fantastic. But believe. All right, Bark. History of unicorns. Scotland's animal.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you think about it and you're like, well, like, how did somebody come up with that? And I think we all kind of accept, like, when I think of unicorns, I think of the, what is it? It's the Lisa Marie or whatever. It's the peaches. You know what I'm talking about, with like the bright colors on it.
Back in the day,
yeah. Like, and I think of like those unicorns. Plus, I've got 2 little girls, so like we watch My Little Pony, and we've got all kinds of unicorns. I've got a unicorn earmuffs. I've got unicorn headbands. You know what I mean? I'm living the unicorn dream. But it's like, where did all of this come from? And so, I was looking at it, and they traced the earliest evidence of a one-horned critter goes all the way back to 2000 BCE in the Indus River Valley. They found a stamp that has a more cow-like figure, so not quite as sleek and appealing as the horse unicorn, but more of a working man's unicorn.
What I thought was interesting about that stamp, though, was, did you notice, like, when we think of unicorn, right, we think of like a horn, like, what about yay, right? Like, it's a significant. This horn is like a front.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about horns is, like the modern, I guess, or the dominant unicorn,
the mainstream
image?
unicorn.
Mainstream.
Yeah.
The mainstream unicorn horn is a swirl.
Right.
Like it's in a spiral pattern, and it's fairly straight and conical. Oh, geez, we have a unicorn tape dispenser sitting over there with a perfect example of this, but it's over there.
Just go get it. Go get it.
No. It's okay. People will believe.
I was gonna say, I can vamp for at least 30 seconds. So
no, I'll find an image of it because it's fairly standard. But anyway, fairly
mainstream.
Fairly mainstream.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that there's no evidence in like Greek mythology of unicorns. So like a lot of the, I guess, kind of pantheon of like fictional things kind of starts with the Greeks, and then it gets stolen by the Romans, and they change some names and change some stories, and then it goes to the Norse, and there's a lot of kind of like shared mythos, but the unicorn doesn't seem to be a piece of that, and it seems to kind of be this idea of people seeing different animals, and so like a lot of people are kind of like have conjectures about what the people think they saw. So like there is what is he? In Greek literature, the first account of a unicorn is written by a guy named Theseus.
Yep.
Of an animal that he calls an Indian wild ass. It's got a horse body, which is white, a purple head, blue eyes, and then a horn that is white at the base, black in the middle, and then red at the top, which I thought was a very specific, like detailed description. Of an animal. And so like this story keeps perpetuating, and as more stories come out, it's kind of this mixture of people going like, well, did you see an animal that had like, maybe it was some like a deer or an antelope that like had a bad day?
Yeah.
It just has one.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of like the buck from Open Season, is that the name of the movie with like the annoying deer and the bear?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I've never saw
Terrible movies.
Yeah.
But like Pliny the Elder writes an account that talks about a monoceros. Like think about a rhinoceros.
Yep.
It's a monoceros. Yeah, mono meaning one, ceros meaning horn. And he talks about that it's got the head of a stag, the feet of an elephant, the tail of a boar, and the body of a horse. And a lot of people go, I think he was seeing a rhinoceros. You know what I mean? And there's later on when Marco Polo goes to China, also writes of the unicorn, right? And the description that he gives is that it's scarcely smaller than an elephant, hair like a boar, and it likes to wallow in the mud and slime, which makes people think of a rhinoceros rather than the unicorn, which is not quite, again, a little bit thicker than the kind of slender, I guess, kind of more, I guess, I don't know if I tend to think of it as like a feminine symbol, I guess, in a way. I don't know, but like elegant.
Yeah. I would say, I'm okay with feminine. I think that's just because it's tied. Usually the unicorn, when you look at like paintings or anything of them, they're tied to some sort of feminine creature. It's usually not a male dominated thing, at least in my stuff that I was looking through. Ooh,
get to that in a minute.
All right, my bad.
And then I think the other piece that people are confused about is that when the Bible was translated prior to the mid 1500s, the Hebrew word, and I don't speak Hebrew, but I think it's riem, which some people have said it could be a rhino, it could be a unicorn, and then other people, like more modern people, say it's probably more like a wild ox or an oryx.
Okay.
An auric. In the King James, translation, early at some, you'll find some accounts where they say unicorn, and now what others that they will say like a wild ox or something. And so it's just a matter of like, it's one of those things where like there's translation.
Yeah.
You know, how do you translate words for words, or you don't have a word for that? You know what I mean? But as it, I guess it kind of translates into Europe, and it's a very they're unicorn-esque critters from like East Asia, but I guess people would often say like those aren't unicorns, those are just one-horned Kirins or Killins or whatever, you know what I mean? Like those aren't unicorns, they're different things. They just have one horn. That is, just because it has one horn doesn't make it a unicorn.
Isn't it? Okay.
Is what they're saying. It's what they're saying.
I know.
It doesn't meet the mainstream definition of a unicorn. But there was a Greek text, Christian book, called the Physiologus that talked about kind of like the meaning of animals in Europe. And so it had allegories. And so this is where we get the idea of like phoenix rising from the ashes, right? It bursts into flame and then it rises up as a new chick. That comes from this book. Or the state of Louisiana, I don't know, is it Louisiana or is it just New Orleans? The idea that the pelican feeds its young like with its own blood, like letting the babies like peck into the body of the mother.
I think that's just New Orleans.
Actually,
Louisiana is the Pelican state, so it's probably Louisiana.
Yeah, but
from there.
That story originates from this same text.
Okay.
And in it, there's an allegory, which is where we start to see the idea that unicorns are these wild creatures that can only be tamed by a virgin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the virgin can coax them in, nurture them, and then that allows them to either be captured or to be killed.
Yeah.
And then that translated into an allegory that like the unicorns were like Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. And try not to be like all Dan Brown, you know. Shoot, what was that?
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, Da Vinci Code, where like, you know, horns, women, you know, I mean, male, women, you know what I mean? And apparently there was a lot, there's a number of tapestries that come up. I think a lot of them are from the early 1500s or 16th century that depict kind of like women, like I guess wooing unicorns, or like
yes,
in this relationship where they're trying to like calm or like nestling or like hugging the unicorns.
Yeah.
But then after the treaty or the Council of Trent, is that what it was?
Yep.
Council of Trent, like in the mid 1500s, they decide that like no more unicorns.
Yeah, it's done.
Like unicorns are no longer like okay in Christianity. And like they go away. Like they go away. They're no longer used in like that religious way. And they come back in heraldry, which is like in Scotland.
Yep.
Right. It's on the outside of the coat of arms, I think, for the Scottish coat of arms. Right. And they talk about how like sometimes like the unicorns will have chain, like a collar or no collar, or like they have a collar with a chain that's broken. So it kind of shows this idea that it's like a free spirit.
Right.
That can't be, it's a powerful creature that can't be like held down. Right. And if you think about the story of Scotland and England, you know, that makes sense. But then there's kind of this gap of the Middle Ages or the late Middle Ages to like, in my mind, it's almost like the 1980s. Because that's where unicorns kind of become really popular again. Like they
Wasn't alive.
Well, but you see them in pop culture, like My Little Pony, like Care Bears, like all of these unicorns. Like She-Ra has a unicorn, and like C.S. Lewis had written about one in The Last Battle, the last book in the Narnia series.
Yeah.
Which he wrote in the 50s, I think.
Okay.
And so there's kind of these sporadic mentionings of unicorns, but like it really kind of comes back into swing in the 80s, not so much the 90s, but I would say like right now is kind of like obviously like I've showed you all the unicorn stuff that we have. And it's this interesting thing because like I think about the movie Legend. Tom Cruise, a very young Tom Cruise, and what's his name? Is it Adam Curry? Is the devil or the demon who essentially looks like Satan, but he's not Satan, but he totally looks like Satan. Anyways, in that movie, the whole thing is like there's a young girl who we will assume is pure, who tries to like touch the unicorn, and then like she touches the unicorn and then bad things happen. And they're like, no, you screwed up the world. Like the unicorn is supposed to be free. And like, huh?
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, my bad.
No, just in case Tim Curry watches our show.
Yeah. Sorry, Tim. But there was a belief, and it starts in the Middle Ages, or even before that. It goes all the way back, I think, to Ctesias, where they said that if you would drink from the horn of the Monoceros, like a cup, that it would cure like poisoning, drive out evil. Like it's supposed to be like this cure-all thing, which again lends the idea that unicorns are this pure creature that I guess we've kind of like swung the other way where like in the Middle Ages, it was like catch the unicorn, where now like the idea in the modern sense is the unicorn should be free.
Correct.
Like you can't, and maybe it's kind of like this.
Well, so
environmental.
It could be. It depends. I mean, like what I love is that you see it kind of pop up in places where they don't call it a unicorn. You know what I mean? Like I guess I'm not gonna say my first experience, but like thinking back, like when we did this episode or we thought about this episode, I was like, when was that first time I saw like a unicorn? Right? Like I didn't make the Michael Scott joke and everything like that, but I think the first unicorn that would have been like prevalent would have been Rapidash in Pokemon. Right, you had Ponyta, which is a flaming mane, flaming tail, right? And then when it evolves, its evolved form is Rapidash, which has a horn out the front, right? Still flaming mane, flaming tail, right? But it's a horse-like creature, right? That's meant to be fast, and like the episode is like Ash is like riding for this ranch. She's trying to win a big race, and they're racing like another guy, and Ponyta evolves into Rapidash and can go even faster now, with the fire and everything like that. And then I guess the next reference is probably Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, where Voldemort is drinking unicorn blood to stay alive. But it's like you live a half life, right? It's that punishment idea. Like, yeah, you get this power, but you don't get everything you want.
Yeah, so I mean, it's almost supposed to be like, like it's this beautiful thing, and what part of the beauty of the unicorn is that it's free.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not meant to be contained or stopped. And long story short, when they were selling unicorn horns, alicorns, during the Middle Ages, because people were actually buying, like people would show up and be like, want to buy my unicorn horn? It is more expensive. Like, ching, ching. It turned out there were narwhal tusks.
Which is the unicorn of the sea.
That is true. That is true. Which is another kind of like fantastical creature in itself to go, yeah, there's a whale with a giant horn on the front of it. And people are like, I wouldn't buy the fish from Bill.
Giant tooth, actually.
Yeah, it is a tooth that protrudes through the lip.
Sorry, I just think it's cool to call it the tooth.
No, over spring break we watched a documentary about narwhals and how they use their tusks to like bap fish and then eat them.
Was it narwhals swimming in the ocean, causing a commotion? No? Okay.
It was not. But like it's one of these interesting things where like my daughters are starting to reach the age where they're starting to ask, like, is this real or is this make believe or is this pretend? You know what I mean? And so like when we watch stuff like Harry Potter and whatever's on, like Harry Potter's on TV all the time, like bless sci-fi for that.
Yeah.
But
consider Harry Potter sci-fi. That's awesome.
Instead of like Hellraiser or like the Chucky show. But you know, it's one of those things where it's so prevalent though. Like there's a lot of unicorn stuff right now, and like anything that's rainbow colored has got to be unicorn this or unicorn that.
Yeah.
And so it's really this symbol that's kind of like, I guess people would look at it and probably say that it takes on and it means something different than it did back in the day.
Yeah.
But, you know, in a way, maybe it's kind of a reaction to the previous history of catch it, kill it, because that's the cool thing to, you know what I mean? It's rather than.
No, you're on the right track. I mean, like
rather than taking stuff from nature, figuring out how to live in harmony with nature.
Yep.
Going back to all those like wicked like 1990s movies like Ferngully.
Yeah, God. Oh, jeez.
Once Upon a Forest, Rats of Nim. Or Mice of Men.
It's not Rats of Nim.
Mice. Secret of Nim?
Yeah, now I gotta look it up though.
This is Jonathan Frisbee or Frisbee. Secret of Nim.
Secret of Nim?
Secret of Nim. I'm not Googling it. My brain just says that's right.
All right, cool. I like it.
I'll double check it.
I'm trying to find it. I can't. It popped up as Secret Garden.
The Secret of Nim.
The Secret of Nim. Yep.
Yep. Confirmed by Google.
Perfect. So, well, anything else? I mean, this is cool. It's just kind of a cool thing. Like, you just don't think about this stuff. Like, it's more of that, you know, just history that you're like, oh, okay. Because there can be a history of anything, which is the exciting part. So
it has to come from somewhere.
Right.
And it's one of those interesting things where there's this pervasive, so like these mythical stories that most likely were unicorns, or sorry, were rhinoceroses, sorry. And then people were like, yeah, rhino's not kind of like, doesn't have that like beauty and like elegance to it. It's not sexy. Sorry, rhinos. You're beautiful no matter what they say.
Fluffy unicorns.
Yeah. The working man's unicorn.
Amen to that.
But you know, that's kind of the European image that has become pervasive. And then on the flip side, like the East Asian mythical creatures that are kind of have the bodies of like horses, but they're chimeras, like they're the amalgamation of different animals. Amalgamation. And they're covered in scales and whatnot. And there's similarities between Japan, Korea, China, and then all the way down to Thailand. But again, those are countries that have more of a shared cultural experience. Cultural diffusion. Yeah, I have to figure out a hand signal for that. You know, but like they would again look at it and go, just because it has one horn doesn't mean it's a unicorn. Right. In the same way, like people looking at a narwhal, like just because it has one horn doesn't mean that it's a unicorn.
Right.
So I don't know. One of the things, you know what I realized tonight, Mr. Turner?
What did you realize tonight, Mr. Barker?
Tonight, History of Unicorns is episode 60.
Dang. Brush your shoulder up. I think I'll wear my hippo shirt to represent that.
Whoop, whoop. Love
this hippo shirt, by the way. It's so cool.
Yeah, I will find a place. So just FYI about the merch. We cannot post a link on our YouTube because we're apparently not big enough yet. We haven't sold out hard enough.
He wants to buy us.
Apparently you have to be a really big deal to sell merch officially through the YouTube. So if you go to our Instagram account, I think I have it. I will put it on there if it's not there already. It is linked on our Facebook page, Turnbark Time.
We can highlight it on like, so we can make it a story, because we made that story about it where I actually posted like the merch pictures and then did that. We should be able to highlight that story, so it should be say where we just can say it was merch and get it done. So yeah, Barker went through, guys. There's some dope gear out there, and let's face it, if you wanted to wear somebody's face, why not ours? I mean, why not us?
Yeah,
So,
why not us?
and then
Right.
again, everything's any money that we could make off of this, we're donating to charity. And no, we have not decided on a charity yet because we haven't made enough money to make it matter. So
Yes. We will make it as soon as we figure out where we're going to put it,
yep.
in a legitimate charity. A legitimate charity.
Yep.
We will let you know what that is.
Worth fun. Sorry, Kelsey.
Yeah. And yeah, we will let you know. So just do not pay for expedited shipping. I will say that. I had a student who was like, I paid for expedited shipping, and he goes, it's not here yet. I'm like, just pay for the regular shipping and be patient.
Yep, seriously. And it's not bad. So
yeah, just
it's
not Amazon Prime.
No.
You just got to wait a little bit.
They'll get it to you. So okay, so next week had a couple of topics that you and I have actually spitballed. Are we going with topic 1 that I discussed first with you when I was driving home from Fred Meyer, and I had to tell you about this? Or are we going with option 2, which we just discovered tonight? What would you like?
I think option 2 is more interesting at the moment.
Okay, I'm in.
All right.
So option 2. So for those of you who don't know, option 2, we're going to talk about some big bills. That's all we're going to say. Just big bills. Because we like big bills and we cannot lie.
You other brothers can't deny.
And when those greenbacks walk in,
puts a smile on your face. I don't know. Keep it PG-13.
Yep. We found some cool information about currencies and different things like that. So we're gonna have a conversation about currencies. As you saw today, I dropped a reel. As you saw yesterday, because this is gonna be in the future. I dropped a reel on Wednesday night. Wednesday nights are usually when we record, and we drop our videos on Thursdays. So if you want to check out the reel to see what we're doing, come on in and check it out. Again, always taking suggestions for new topics. Barker's kids, keep it up. We love the suggestions. Love them. If my kids are watching this, which they're probably not because they're 8th graders and they prefer other YouTubers. Like, I learned all about other YouTubers today, and I don't know. I just don't know. So
we'd have more followers if we played Fortnite.
Yeah, if we streamed while talking about this, what could we stream? Oh, Barker, I'll stream Ken Griffey Jr. baseball while we're doing it.
But we're not selling out. We're not giving into the algorithm. We're giving you the content that tens of you want.
Yep. Heck yeah. This is going to reach tens of people.
Yep.
So anyway, History Unicorns. Hope you liked it. Be ready for big bills next week. Bark, anything else?
A big shout out to people who've been repping the merch. We've had a handful. I've had a student at my school bought a shirt, wore it the other day. I appreciate it. I wore mine. Somebody else looked at it and said, I see that Jon Snow's on it, and who's the other guy? And I'm like, the other guy is me.
Apparently that could have been a Game of Thrones knockoff. Who knows?
You should do birthday parties.
I know, too much effort, way too much effort. But however, it is kind of cool. Kelsey Ramsey, our fake niece, is rocking a sweater. Barb and Don Holmes both have sweaters, which is freaking cool. So thanks again, you guys. We just really appreciate it. It's just kind of fun for us. Again, from the beginning, this has always been about just us having fun. So we appreciate the support. We appreciate you guys who watch, who listen. Thank you so much. And Bark, until next time, I'm going to be the Turn.
I'm the Bark.
And we're going to be here a long time. Have a good night, everybody.
Be safe.
And be well.